All right, we're gonna try again. All right, call the meeting to order. All right, welcome everybody to a unusual meeting, but we are back in person and we have about 25 or so people here at the Bowen. I'm not quite sure how many we have. Looks like we have 20 people online, so that's great. We are having a few technical issues, but I think you can see the slideshow. So can Zoom people, can you see the slideshow? I got a thumbs up from somebody. They can hear. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started and we'll see what happens. We are also recording this on Zoom, so may not be a great recording, but we'll see what happens. We're just glad to be in person again. It's been 2 years, and so I'm happy to see everybody here. We got some new faces. We've got a lot of people I've only met on Zoom that I've now met tonight, so we're gonna have some fun and talk some photography. So we're gonna start with club business, then we're gonna talk about events. Travis is gonna go ahead and do his presentation, and then we're gonna attempt to do our photo challenge. So, as usual, if you're not a paid member, you can still pay online. Go to northgeorgiaphotographyclub.com, click on the members page, and you can go ahead and pay your dues. Basically, if you're a paid member, you get more benefits than an unpaid member. You get to go to some events and participate in workshops. Those are things that you can't do if you're not a paid member. But you can see all the details there on the websites. So the first thing we wanted to talk about, we have coming up, is the North Georgia Camera Club Council Shootouts. It's going to be April 30th at Chattahoochee Tech in Dallas, Georgia. North Georgia Photography Club will pay the $20 entry fee for each participant. I put a post about this on our Facebook page last night. I'm going to send an email probably on Monday. I need you to respond if you want to participate, and only respond if you will participate. Consider that a commitment. Since the club is going to be paying your entry fee, we don't want to pay for 20 people and then only have 10 people show up. So if you think you can respond, if you can attend, go ahead and respond. And with that, we're going to let Rick talk. He's going to tell us a little bit more about the shootout. And I know a lot of you did our little mini shootout, so this is be the real thing. So.
Real people. This is awesome. Actual live human beings. Plus you guys. Hey. So just a little bit about the shootout I want to share with you, because I've been in a bunch of them through COP, CPS, COP Photographic Society. I thought I'd share a few tips with you on it, and also just give you kind of a general feel of what it is, so you can answer the question that I know is in your mind. Mike, why do I want to go to this stupid thing? Here's why. So an overview of the shootout, basically what it is a competitive photographic scavenger hunt. That's what you're doing.
You may need to speak up a little louder.
We'll get announced that morning. Trying to capture those photographs, trying to win prizes for yourself, trying to win prizes for your club, and of course the honor of the club finishing first place, which North Georgia certainly will do. Where am I? Closer to the microphone. Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Can the people on Zoom hear?
Yes, we can now.
Okay.
I heard laughter, but I don't know who that was. I'm going to find out later. So basically, what are you doing? Imagine spending the day doing what you love with 200 other people who are like-minded, you know, and just meeting new friends and old friends and going out there and going crazy and trying to photograph things you never would have thought you'd have to shoot. So the way it's going to work is we're going to get there about 7:30 in the morning into the classroom. I'm taking a little bit of your stuff here, but I'm guesstimating you're going to want that because it actually starts at 8 o'clock. So you'll have all the information by then, what classroom, what's the address, all that stuff, you'll have it. But you're going to show up about 7:30, set your computer up, bring your computer into the classroom that's assigned to North Georgia, set your computer up, test it, make sure everything's cool. About 8 o'clock, Mike is going to grab all you guys and say, okay, off we go. and you're gonna meet the other, 180 people or whatever. And in a big room, usually it's an auditorium type thing. And somebody will randomly select the 5 topics and announce them. You're probably gonna have a name tag. Take that name tag out and your pen and write down topic number 1, yellow, topic number 2, things that smell funny, whatever it might be. Write them down on there. And you'll have that with you all day. So you've got the 5 topics handy to refer to. That's a little tip. There's going to be a lot of particulars that you got to get right, including things like the way you make your file notes. Have to be very precise. Honest to God, they got to be exactly right, or you may have the best photo of the day and not have it recognized. One thing I'll comment on general artsy fartsiness of the whole event. It isn't much. You're in a race to get these photos. You're not going to do your very best work. The thing to keep in mind is what they're looking for, the judges are going to be looking for is something that's interesting, unique, a different spin, and it fits the topic. And I'll give you a really cool example. Mark Chandler, who was at the time, I think, president of CPS, took first place one year for the topic round by taking a close-up macro photograph of a faucet, a spigot sticking out the back of the building. And, they usually, that you connect your garden hose to, they usually have a round handle on it, and it's bright. And that was the winner. Now, this is not a photograph you would hang on your wall, right? But it was good enough to win first place that year for rounds. So just be thinking about unique, different spin, okay? So anyway, about 11:30ish, 11 to 11:30, and Mike will give you clearer guidance on this later. You're going to want to come back, get into the room, download this photo, start doing your edits. Some thoughts about that. If you have a slow laptop, give yourself more time. Before you come, this one's pretty important. Before you even come, I would make a note. I use electronic calendars to remind myself of stuff all the time. Keeps me out of trouble. Thursday night, the Thursday before, you're going to have a note in there that says, check cameras, all my cameras, to make sure that the date and time are perfectly correct. And I remember this horror story one day. A woman for 1 year actually did that job, but inadvertently switched AM and PM. And she was setting the time and she was off by 12 hours. None of the photos could be considered. So just be very careful about that kind of little detail.
They are very strict on the rules, more strict than we were in our mini shootout.
Yeah. And then 2, make sure you've got that laptop. Sometimes you have a laptop that you use for stuff like this, but you normally don't use it. You're using other computers or tablets or whatever. So you grab that laptop that you haven't used in 3 months and show up at the shootout and turn it on, and that's what's going to happen. It's going to want to run updates, and it's going to get tied up with Windows updates or whatever the hell's going on, and you're going to be pulling your hair out waiting for it to finish. Or worse, you have a license for Photoshop or some other Adobe product, Lightroom, and it wants to know that you're legit and you're paid up. So it's going to go looking for an internet connection. If there's no internet in that room, you are out of business. So run those updates Thursday night, a couple nights before, so you're ready. Friday, you can breathe free and clear that you're going to have a great day Saturday and not worry about that stuff, right? Just remember to put it all in the car. Basically, after you've done your edits and you've turned them in, whoever the leadership team is going to be for North Georgia will be working through your photos and trying to pick the best ones to submit on behalf of the club. They get to submit 5 for each topic, or 10 for each topic. So they'll have a total of 50 of your images that they're submitting. You, meanwhile, are going to go have fun. While they're slaving away in the back room, you're going to go have lunch, you're going to find friends, get a little bit drunk. Don't do that. Okay, do that if you want to. Then go back somewhere around 2-ish, you'll probably go back and you'll be hanging around. There'll be a lot of stuff going on within the auditorium. You might have people there cleaning cameras for you. You might have vendors there selling print services and stuff like that. There'll be folks to talk to about photographic stuff. But also there'll be presentations from the stage. You'll have speakers from world-renowned speakers talking about different aspects of photography. Lots of cool stuff going on.
John Mariana, one of the speakers.
Awesome.
He spoke to our club last year. So
yeah, and you'll have vendors out there, and you'll have Just lots of activity going on in the room, probably prizes, door prizes being given tonight, stuff like that. Somewhere around 5 o'clock, maybe as late as 6, I've seen it happen. They're going to come out and make the announcements. It takes forever. It seems like it's taken forever, but they build this really nice slideshow. And by then they know who's who. And they're going to show you, the winners 1 through 10 for each of the 5 categories. And it's just so much fun. I've said it this way a few times, and I have to say, to me, there's few things that are any more fun than you can do with all of your clothes on. So just keep that in mind. When he asks you if you want to go, you'll want to go. This is just too much
I
fun.
am skipping car shows to do this, okay? So
It is a ton of fun. I've done it both as a
Yes.
participant and a judge.
Travis was one of the, I don't remember what place he finished in, but he did win a ribbon for our club 2 years ago. And we finished 3 years ago, time flies.
That's right.
And we finished 6 out of about 12 clubs, and we only had 5 people participating on our team. So I think we get a lot more than that. I think we're really gonna do well. And even if we come in last place, you're still gonna have fun.
But plan for the whole day.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah, it's a day.
It's a long day.
It's a tiring day. You got up early. You guys have to drive all the way to Dallas and be there by 7:30. So it's a commitment. But I'm telling you, it's so much fun. Dallas, Georgia. So it's a bit of a haul from here. So that's it. There's going to be more communications coming. We'll have notes to you. We'll have a lot of specific stuff. If you're going to commit to doing it, keep all those notes together.
Now, here's the forward. I've done it for other clubs. Do they check GPS tags? I know the geographical area you have to stay in.
There's a geographical area and there's a time constraint. So you're going to have a few hours to shoot. Honestly, you're not going to want to try to push the geographic constraint because of the time constraint, right? But yeah, they will specify the area that you're allowed to shoot. They will tell
Yeah,
you.
they'll tell you county line.
County line
Yeah,
or anything like
yeah.
that.
yeah, we don't know what the limits are yet. I don't even know the area around Chattahoochee Tech, but we're getting more information. They accidentally, my email address fell off their list, so I wasn't getting any communication until about 2 weeks ago, and that's when I found out, oh, we have to have our participants listed by the end of the month. So yeah, so go on, find the post on Facebook, and it has my email address. You just respond and say, I want to attend. We've got 3 people so far, me, Travis, and Donna. Where's Donna? Donna's right there. I knew you were on that side. You signed up. So we want
You
more.
missed it. It's too late. Don't worry about it.
We want more than 3 people, and we're gonna do great, and you're gonna have fun. So, and I'll send an email out on Monday. All right, let's see what's the next page. No, it doesn't want to go. No, this doesn't want to work.
It's on your screen.
Okay.
I was going to mention, you can, they probably want to have lunch right there. We've done in some cases where I've had like a food truck in there. I don't know if they're going to be there now. Stand up top, this top is hosting this.
Yeah, we went to
I
Applebee's for lunch.
Either bring a sandwich or just plan on going somewhere for lunch. And typically what'll happen is they're running into some old friends at this thing and you want to throw a lunch with them, getting thrown out of the bag. So that's what you do.
And if Rick hasn't talked to you enough, we're gonna go out of order on the trips, because he was gonna talk about Gibbs Gardens real quick. We just announced this yesterday. We're gonna do a Gibbs Gardens trip on April 2nd.
So we'll go backwards. He's got the trip a week from Saturday and then I'll have the trip 2 weeks from Saturday. That's right. That's right. Always the
And,
case.
and real quick, our theme next month for the club is macro close-up. So here's 2 good chances to get some macro pictures.
Cool. All right, well, Gibbs is going to be Saturday, April 2nd, 9 a.m. We're going to meet there. I actually have a handout because I didn't know any about it. And I haven't done a real meeting with human beings in so long, I thought I'd over prepare. So I'm going to hand these out. If you think you're going to be interested, take one. It's got some specifics on it about the trip, but yeah, to your point, good opportunity for me. So maybe pass them on that. There is a workshop. Yeah, what
Yeah,
is
we
that?
have, yeah, we'll mention that. We have the workshop, So now we're going out of order, but we'll continue to go out of order because Timmy and Kevin are not here tonight. But the workshop is on April 2nd, the same day. It's going to be from 5:30 to 7:30. We changed the time because sunset is later. It's going to be at Hurricane Schultz Park. It's in, where is that, in Maysville? It's the same place we did the Chris Greer workshop last year. And we have that information on the Facebook page, and emails will go out, but that's going to be an off-camera flash. The other workshop that we have, it's already filled up. There was only limited number of spaces, I think 6 or 8 slots. But Linda Lester with we're going to be doing frog photography. She's got this set up and she's kind of doing it as a workshop, so that's going to be kind of cool. I know that Timmy is working on a portrait photography workshop, possibly at the end of April with Scott Gibson. That's probably going to be limited to 6 or 8 people also, just because of space. That one's going to have a fee because they're going to have a model there. So they had to charge a fee. And then she's also working on one for June with Anna DeStefano, who was one of our speakers last year. So as those details become available, we'll bring them up. So now we'll go back to order and trips. And Dick, you're on.
You gotta be.
Yeah.
Certain people can hear you.
No, that's a different breakup. So the immediate next event is a week from tomorrow. Going over to the Shirley Miller Wildflower Trail. This is a little bit of a gamble because I don't know for sure that anything's actually blooming, although looking around at other places, I expect things are. And the website and Facebook page associated with the trail says things are blooming. So I trust them. Speaking of macro there, you're on a boardwalk. You don't get to climb around and go lay in the flowers and get real close to them. So if you really want to do close-ups, bring a long lens. But it's very simple. That trail is almost in Alabama, way west. So look it up on Google Maps and give yourself plenty of time to drive. Number 2, it's on a, well, at least the main road you go on before you get there is called Pocket Road. Be aware there's a different Pocket Road in a different part of Georgia, Northwest Georgia. Make sure you get to the Shirley Mill or Wildflower Trail. I plan to be there about 10 in the morning because that's when I'll get there based on how early I'm willing to get up. If you want to go earlier, go earlier. There's no magic in this. It's a long drive for me, so I'm going to take my sweet time going down the trail and take plenty of pictures because I don't know when I'll get back. So I listed on the event on Facebook, it says from 10 to 3, I believe. It's entirely up to you. You can stay as long as you wish. But it is not private. I mean, it is not, it is public land. You need to have a Georgia go outdoors pass or a fishing license or a hunting license. If you happen to be over the age of 65, you can get a lifetime fishing license for free. Which is what I have. Otherwise, I think it's $15 a year.
It's not expensive. I have a fishing license. And that is the cheapest way to do it.
Getting a fishing license, yeah.
Whether you ever go fishing or not.
Didn't we put the link on the Facebook page?
I put the link in there, yeah. And other than that, then the next week we go to Gibbs, and then we have Easter, and then we do the shootout.
Shoot at the end of April. We have no events for May right now, other than a possible workshop, but that could always change. And then the first week of June, we do this every year, the Helen to the Atlantic balloon race. And
Always fun.
we'll do details on that because we get multiple chances. All right. All right. So now if things work right, we will let Travis go ahead and do his presentation on Beyond the Big Picture. Okay, so I have to stop sharing. There we go.
Probably.
All right, so now it's not your, okay. So we're gonna let, I'm gonna shut up, and I'm gonna let Travis speak.
All right, for the folks that are on Zoom, can you hear me? Someone wave.
Yes, yes, but not
Hey,
great.
can you see my screen with the presentation on it?
Yes.
Okay, it looks like you can. We'll see.
Speak up just a little, Travis.
All right. I know it's already been said, but we're back in person. Oh my gosh. This is only the second time I've gotten to present to real faces in 2 years. And I've been working on the concept of this presentation since before that. I was scheduled to start doing this presentation sometime in 2020, and then COVID happened. And so this presentation kind of got put on the shelf. So I'm really excited about it. This club has always been very good to me about having me come in and speak. Most of my presentations that I've ever given have been done to this group, and y'all have always been very helpful and had great feedback, and have always been an engaging audience. So I'm really looking forward to this because there is nothing like giving a presentation in person. It doesn't compare when you're on Zoom staring at your own screen. So this presentation is called Beyond the Big Picture. And for me, it started out as pushing myself in my own photography several years ago to try to look beyond that massive landscape that we're all like really drawn to. I mean, who doesn't like a great big sunset in an epic spot? That's awesome. And I really like it, but at the same time, it seemed like it was starting to become the easy thing to do, that I'd hike up to some remote location, get that shot, turn around and go home, and then I'd have one picture to edit. Because I don't want to edit 14 pictures of the same sunset. I'm going to pick the best one. And so I started telling myself, I want to find more things to photograph when I'm out. I've spent all the time and effort and money or whatever to get to that location. Why leave myself with one shot to show for it? So I started challenging myself to shoot something other than just that wide angle landscape. And that's kind of where this presentation is born from. No, we're not going to, it's not going to work. Right? Okay. Well, we'll see how we make this work. Bear with us. Ah. Who doesn't like it? Grand landscape, great vista, got all kinds of stuff going on. You've got the frame full of everything. You've got trees, you've got a mountain, you've got that late light. It's awesome, right? But what do you do? I mean, you've really got to start looking for other things. We're always told, have a frame full of stuff, you know? Fill it up, put as much as you can in there. Lots of stuff for the eye to look at. But to me, sometimes I want to really distill that down and start finding something that's a little more personal about that particular scene. I know a lot of people in here like to shoot car shows. I know Mike does. Not at all, right? No, Mike never shoots car shows. I love them. I'm a car guy. I love going to car shows. But who can tell me what's going on in this picture that maybe makes it not a really great picture? Like what?
Well, the fence.
Well, the fence.
The other car.
This dude's face that he's just photobombing me.
Well,
Yep.
you get photographed.
The reflections on the hood.
It's pretty busy. And you can really find so much more creative stuff when you really want to in a place like a car show. Old Car City, who's been there? Everybody's been there, right? Who's going back again this year? Maybe when the snakes are gone? Bugs are not as bad, the mosquitoes there will carry you away. But at the same time, What all is going on in this picture? How much is going on in that? There's so much. There's the truck, there's the tree, there's those cars, there's those cars. There's that one up in the air up there. All of that stuff is distraction. And if you mentally tell yourself, stop looking at the big picture. Let's start narrowing our focus and finding something else to photograph and something else to catch our attention. Grand landscapes are reliant on two things primarily, right? Light and atmosphere. You got to have great light where it's boring. And if you don't have the great big clouds in the sky catching that light, it looks like that. Same place, a couple years apart. That's not as interesting, is it? By show of hands, who likes that one more? We got one. We got one. There's always going to be one that says they like that one more. Whether it's to be difficult or just because you really do. Me, I don't like that one as much. So on the year that this was the light, I was looking for other things. I was looking for that special light, little pockets of light, little stories, little things that people might walk right past. This was right next to the trail. When I was photographing this little fern in the dead rhododendron branches, people were walking by and several of them would stop and say, "What are you taking a picture of? Everybody else is over there." I was like, "Yeah, but they're not taking this picture." Like, "Yeah, but they're not taking this picture. And this picture is unique to me and me only. Everybody else has that picture of the boring sunset with no clouds. And I'm not drawn to that photograph. I don't feel like I put anything into it. It doesn't tell me a story. To me, this one tells me a story. This little fern is sheltered and harbored in the branches of these rhododendrons. It's protected. It's off the trail where it's not getting trampled down. And that light to me was way more special there with that. I mean, you can see that clear sky in the background. So it gives you an opportunity to find something else to shoot when the light and atmosphere isn't right. Because otherwise, the hike up to Green Bald is not an easy one. Who's done it? Anyone else? Yeah. That's not an easy hike. That last quarter mile is straight up rocks and it's no fun. What fun is it to get there and then be like, well, we got no light tonight. I'm just going to walk all the way back down. No, find something else. This is Roe Mountain again, a couple of years prior to the other shot. Finding little detail, little intimate stories. This was a batch of ferns near one of the flame azaleas, and that little azalea bloom had been blown off before it was ready to fall off because it was so windy. But it was down in this little hole of ferns just hiding. 99% of people are going to walk right past it and never see it. But that's one of my favorite shots of that whole trip, because I told myself I'm not going to go for the big picture. I am going to find the little things. I am going to look for something that is unique and different. I am going to spend more time being intentional about my photography. So often it is really easy to show up, set the tripod up, set the camera on it, and wait. And you know, that's great if you know you're going to have the right light. But if you don't, or you have plenty of time, and you have a second camera, set that tripod up, reserve your spot, because places like Roe Mountain, you can have 15 people across the hill up there waiting on their spot. But if you have the time, go find little things to photograph, something that's much more intimate and personal and much more storytelling. Smoky Mountains, tree months, perfect conditions for fall. So the wide angle landscape sometimes makes sense. It's a great location. But what if you want to go when there's no leaves on the tree? What are you going to do now? You've lost that element of the scene that makes the scene really important. But you can still create unique, engaging images. You've seen this one before. narrow the view. Instead of 16 millimeters, this is at 50 millimeters, and I'm pretty close to it. Those little rocks weren't but from me to Jeff back here. That's all the further it was. The 50 millimeters, it fills the frame. It gives me lots of stuff. Now pay attention to this scene real quick. Keep your eye on it. I've made another shot out of the same scene with just a slight maneuver of my position and then going to 60 millimeters. Now I have another shot that's much closer, still filling the frame, and to me, more interesting than the one prior, because we're getting closer and narrowing our field of view, narrowing the distractions. Same scene, same spot, 70 millimeters, directly over one of the waterfalls, the little cascades. We start digging into abstracts and a little motion of water and just creating something that's more unique. Nobody else on the trip that I was with was shooting this stuff. We were all doing the big picture, and I was focused mostly on little details, little flowing water, seeing what I needed to do to get that water to tumble just enough to give it some texture. And it looks like pulled cotton candy almost. Have you ever seen the milkweed in the summertime when it starts stretching out its little seed pods? That's kind of what it reminds me of. So the challenge on a spot like that is don't move a lot. See what you can do by changing your lens. Can I put a longer lens on? What can I do there? Just challenge yourself to look at different lenses and different focal lengths and different pieces of a scene, all from one spot. Don't move, just stay there and challenge yourself to get more creative with your photography. Back to car show. Really distracting background. Beautiful car, but it gets lost with all of that stuff in the background. So I always tend to put away the wider angle lens and find my zoom lens that does really well with being really close. Minimum focus distance kind of thing. And look at patterns, shapes, colors, abstracts. And just create something that's a little more interesting. Again, we talked about light being the most important thing in photography. There's still light in that. It's all about the light and the shadow, isn't it? Light and the shadow. It's all about the light on the backside, the shadow rolling over that fender, the light just catching the edges of that logo. But I don't have any of that ugly distracting background. And to me, that's more creative and it makes it more fun. Because for me, the car show is great for looking at these little details and scenes. It's not so much the big picture of the whole car or all the people. I really want to just find those little plays of light and shadow or textures. When the guy pulled this car in, everybody was like, ooh, look at that car. And I'm like, ooh, look at those carburetors. The car is pretty, but those carburetors are really cool. And it struck up a conversation with the car owner because he was like, what you taking a picture of? I'm like, well, side draft carburetors, they're pretty cool. And I met a new friend that day because of it. Because everybody else was taking a picture of the whole car and getting all that distracting stuff in the background. But focusing on the little play of light, it's still working with light. The light was hitting that one front carburetor just right, but that texture, the pattern, it still gives it a sense of place because we've got the tire, the engine, a little bit of the hood. It still tells a story of where it's at without showing the whole car. It leaves a lot to the imagination. Old Car City, once again, it's still all about light and shadow because that's what we're really capturing. It's the light on one side of the hood ornament and the cool shadow that it creates that is sharper than the rest of the image and still shows that three-dimensional character of that hood ornament. Yep, it is. But what's important about that shot? It's the light. It's just about the light. I sat there with the camera pointed at that rose-colored hood ornament until the sun moved just to the right location behind it to light it up. And it was only because I was looking for little details that I see the light do it to that hood ornament. And I'm like, ooh, that was cool. I'm gonna sit here until it does it again. Because if I had just been looking for wide angle stuff, I would have never seen it. I would have never seen half the stuff I've seen at Old Park City if I was purely looking at it from a wide angle point of view. There are so many cool things that we overlook in photography because we're not looking at it through the right lens. Put a longer lens on. Just change your perspective from what you're seeing with your eyes and what you're seeing with a wide angle lens. Put a longer lens on, and it really opens up a lot more opportunities. The rest of the day was really kind of boring. The light was kind of harsh. We were not there at the right time. But looking for little details, I kept myself busy for like 3.5, 4 hours. I only shot like 25 pictures, but I was still having fun looking for little stuff like that. Some of y'all know I just got back from Death Valley. Maybe a few of you. And I had a ton of fun. And the lens that got 97% of the use was a 100 to 400. And a lot of times it was in the 300 to 400 range. And it was zoomed in looking at little plays of light across sand. We spent most of our time in the sand dunes for the trip. And it was all about finding abstracts and working with light and shadow and how it falls off over the sand dunes. That was my 3rd trip to Death Valley, and to me, it was the most rewarding, even though we had the worst skies I've had in all 3 trips there. My first trip there, we had great, big, awesome desert skies with big sunsets. My second trip was about half and half. This trip, we had crystal blue skies the whole trip, which was perfect for this kind of work because the light, the atmospheric conditions weren't there, but the light still was. That early morning or late afternoon light was still there, and it still gave me opportunities to create images that kind of get a reaction from both myself or maybe the viewer. It doesn't. I would have never seen that 2 years, 3 years, in 2019 when I first went. I would have never paid any attention to that, except I started making myself think differently, look for different compositions. And shooting these, I was not trying to find it standing in front of the camera looking. It doesn't work because that looks so different at 400 millimeters. It's really hand holding the camera and looking around and just looking for things in it that fill the frame all of a sudden and go, oh, that's pretty cool. And that's what happened with this one. I've got it at 400 millimeters. I'm looking around and I'm like, ooh, that shape, that curve, those things lined up just right in the viewfinder. We take the camera down, like, wow, I really don't see that in person because our eyes see it such a much wider field of view. So one of the things to do is put that long lens on and look through it for your composition. I know a lot of times we teach, put the camera aside and look at your composition with your own eyes. Some people will say use your phone. Film photographers like to use their phone. There's an app that can simulate the focal length, the format of your film, whether it's 120 or 16:7, and you can hold your phone up and get an idea. For this, it was just literally looking through the viewfinder of the camera, and it changed my perspective. It's all about small pockets of light. I mean, this was from the GNPA trip to the Smokies a couple years ago. I had this overlook all to myself because it's crystal clear blue skies and nobody wanted to take any pictures of it. But I sat there completely geeking out as the light came through the valley and hit the stand of trees in the front that had some leaves still on them and the stand of trees in the back that didn't have any leaves on them. That striping of light was really interesting to me. And I sat and photographed it until the light was gone. But that's because I was looking to use a 200 millimeter lens instead of a 16 millimeter lens. And again, it was looking through the viewfinder, sometimes it's about fleeting light. This is from the same evening, just before the sun went below the ridge. And it just hit the edge of the mountain and what's a little bit left of that tree. And it was there for, it was like that for maybe a minute, and then it was gone. And everyone else was just driving on by, nobody was paying any attention to it. But if you sit there and you are studying the landscape in a way that is not the wide angle, you start seeing little things that you would have missed. And I probably would have missed that if I had just been looking to shoot the big wide angle picture. Take it a step further, start getting closer. I know that the upcoming theme is more macro and close up. This is probably minimum focus distance on a 24-70 lens at 32 millimeters. In the original file, you feel like you could pick the bits of dirt out of it. There's so much detail in it. And it's kind of funny to watch photographers that are looking for this kind of thing in the desert, because they're walking around like this. They're walking around being very, very careful, just looking at the ground, trying to find little details. What's the one, what do you think the one thing that caught my eye was? Yeah. This one right here. Now that little tooth one is completely protected by all the rest of them. So I built my composition around that being almost dead center as much as I could get it, and how everything kind of played out from it. And the sun was going down, we were into the blue hour, so it didn't really take on the tan color of the mud, because we're in the blue hour. It's taking on the reflected color of, you know, that hour past sunset. But it's tons of fun to look for these little details. Back to water details. Shooting a big waterfall, and the sun got too high, so that half the waterfall was in the sun and half of it wasn't. Most people are going to do what? Yeah, should be all right.
Yeah, should be all right.
So if you go to a waterfall, and then the group's gone to waterfalls, if half of it's in the sun and half of it's in the shade because the sun come up, what are you gonna do? Pack it up and go home? No, change your focus, change what you're looking for. This was after the sun was up, because I'm working with the reflections of the bright side of the waterfall in the water. You can now expand your time you can be out shooting. For me, it's hard to sometimes get the time to get out and go shoot. So I want to maximize the amount of time I'm out shooting with creating images and trying something creative. So if you ignore the big picture and start looking at the little pictures, you now have more time on site shooting. Into really macro. Little light falling off the edges of mushrooms that are no bigger than a quarter. Or those are the petals of a pine cone. It had rained and snowed, and that's just a little bit of snow left with some melted snow on the pine cone. I mean, minimum focus distance on 105 millimeter zoom macro lens. I mean, I've got the camera, the lens is this far away from that thing, punched over in the mud. It's not good on my back, but all of a sudden you open your eyes to a world you're normally just walking right past it. And it's about the same thing. It's about patterns, it's about light, it's about fleeting moments of time. The snow is still on that little bit of a pine cone, but it's melting off of that other piece because the light is hitting that other piece as the sun comes up. As the sun comes up, it's going to melt the rest of that, and that fleeting moment in time is going to be gone. Back to Old Car City. Starting with a detail, break it down and get even closer. Just keep breaking it down into stuff that's super abstract. There's a guy named Aaron Reed, and he is extremely good at details like this, and then they sell. He sells big giant pieces of it for lots of money. And I can't figure out how he
managed to do it.
Probably sold his soul
to
to
the devil.
but people love abstracts like this. They do well in corporate world. They do well in a space where it's the focal piece, but you don't want something that is distracting. Like a great big fiery sunset, they're not really his best sellers. They're not really good sellers. It's the little details, the little abstracts that play. They almost look more like art, like abstract paintings. And those seem to be really well. But it's just fun to look at the difference between the whole picture with just a little bit of rust, and then blow it up, and then you see all of those textures that come out that, I'm sorry for the people on Zoom, these little bubbles, you don't see that texture, but look at that texture. We now have multiple layers of texture, and that's just from shooting at a macro lens.
Just from shooting.
The one thing I will warn you, with a macro lens, your depth of field,
Your depth of field.
it is tiny. Even shooting at f11 or f16, your depth of field can be extremely tiny. This one was shot at f16, and I actually had to focus stack it because this piece would fall out of focus with these pieces at f16 because you are so close to it that it just it's worse than using a wide angle prime lens and doing a portrait or something like a fast f1.4 lens. That has a very narrow depth of field. Macro lenses are even more exaggerated. So sometimes there's focus stacking involved, but even on a flat subject, the depth of field is so shallow. So just be aware of that. I like to use that for effect, to put the focus on just the piece that I wanted and let the rest of the image fall out of focus. So some of the standard lenses I use, I didn't want to distract you with fear right up front. I wanted to talk about that toward the end. When after you see what can be done. It's 70 to 200, 100 to 400, or 150 to 600, or 200 to 600. Something long, something that really is completely different than your field of view, because that's when you really start to see something very different. For little details where you can get pretty close to it, a 24 to 70 or 24 to 105. What's really important on those is that they have a very short minimum focus distance. And that means like the 100 to 400 has a minimum focus distance of about 16 feet. So I can take a picture of Barry back there, but I can't take a picture of my microphone here. It's not going to work. So keep that in mind. Some long lenses are good for macro because they have a minimum focus distance of 3 or 4 feet. So for the wildflower trail, those will be great. If you have stuff that's near the edge of the boardwalk, you can still zoom in on them and get really close with those lenses, where you don't need a macro, because 100 millimeter macro isn't going to do you any good on the boardwalk if the flowers from view. You won't be able, it's still going to only be little in the frame. But if you have a 100 to 400 or a 600 millimeter lens, it zooms really close into it. But I like for the standard zooms, I like something in the 24 to 70, 24 to 105 range. Those generally have a minimum focus distance of 6 inches to a foot. So you can get really close to your subject and really narrow down on the details. If you're going to use a macro lens, a lot of them are 90 or 105. I think Canon even has a 150 or 180. They all do a really good job. I mean, I've shot with multiple macro lenses, and they all end up about the same. The focal length is not that much different between 90 and 105. But they are really good for those really clear details that you can't get with another lens. So. Okay, question. Okay.
I saw from YouTube where some doing the macro.
Mm-hmm.
And what you did is you took a cow and cut a hole in it, so it went over the lens, and then it covers your flash, so that when you use that for macro, if you have a flash.
The diffuse flash, yeah.
Is that a good idea when you're doing macro?
It can be if you're working in a macro scene where you don't have good light or the light might be behind you, adding some fill light like that is good. The problem I have with on-camera flash is it's either on or off. You can't really dial it in. You can't really, if you're using your pop-up flash. Now, if you're using a speed light, you can change that. You can turn it down, you put it on manual and really dial it down how bright it's putting out. But you can get little diffusers for those. You can buy a little flash diffuser that goes on speed light, and that can work. The problem you have to remember, I'm going to use Mike's mouse as an example. If this is the subject, in a macro lens, it's probably going to be this close to it. So if your speed light is up here, what is it going to do? It's going to light up that, which isn't going to get you anywhere. Even your on-camera pop-up flash, if your lens is right here, it's going to light up that, whatever's outside of you. So there is what's called a ring light that you can get that actually ends up on the front of your lens that puts nice soft light right at the front of your lens. Dick? Oh, it might. Is it his your microphone on? Is that his? Okay. Might be the microphone. Yeah, they might be hearing both microphones.
Come back next month and we'll do it again with the right settings.
This was just a dry run. This
That's
is
right.
practice.
This is practice.
We'll be back next month to talk about this all over again. Well, I'll come back tomorrow. So that's what the ring light, the little macro light is for. They're real good for. Rick, you were. Yeah. Well, it's a ring light. There's two different things. A ring light is one that's usually a little bigger, that's used for portraiture, where you put the camera through it and you bring your subject really close. Makes this pretty cool around lights. A macro light for a lens, it's two little strobes that kind of like bracket the lens, and you can dial them up or down, brighter, lighter. And they put the light right there in front of them. They're really good for that. They're a ton of fun to play with. You don't see them very often anymore. So that's what I recommend more for that, because of the, you got to think about where your light is being cast to, and if it's being cast beyond your subject, or your subject is shadowed by your lens and camera, and you know. Yeah. I mean, if she's shooting straight down at it, and has, 2 feet, 3 feet to work with, that'd be fine. But a lot of times when you're shooting the little tiny details, you're not going to have that much space between you and it. Yes.
A suggestion, which you mentioned, the long lenses, what I found also helps. If your minimum focusing distance is too long, I use tube extensions to cut down the focus range. Long distance, but it's good.
Yeah, extension tubes work really well. A little bit when I used to have a Canon. I don't use them anymore. My problem with is they mess the lens up. The lens, it doesn't want to focus right. They can be a little fiddly, but do work. If you're trying to use a lens, you can get your focal distance to move out a little bit. Yeah, they can work. Okay.
I have a rookie question.
Okay. There's no such thing.
Might be. You mentioned focus stacking. Is that something you do on
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, for the first time.
not sure how that happened. Sorry. Zoom people, we're sorry. If you have a camera that has the focus peaking feature, you can set it to manual focus, and then you can rack your focus back and forth and watch the things that are in focus go into focus and out, and they light up the edges in the camera to show what's now in focus. And that can be really useful on little details like this. For a big wide landscape, probably not as important, but on these long lens landscapes, I definitely used it. I definitely used live view and zooming in to get focus just right, because some of those were very low contrast scenes where the camera was having a hard time picking out what to focus on, or there wasn't enough contrast on the edge of the sand for the camera to find something to focus on. So focus peaking and live view was extremely useful in those situations. You're sharing that screen now
Trying,
because it's showing up over here now.
because I think your screen disappeared.
Yeah, but that's for these people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, I will turn the floor back over to Mike.
Thank you, Travis. And I hope everybody online was able to hear most everything. But send me your suggestions afterwards, what can be improved, what we need to do on our end, and we'll get it figured out by the end of the year. So we're going to try to set up to do the challenge, but before we do that.
Yeah. So while they're doing this, a couple of things. One, the
Well,
club
I
is
connected to
gonna
the
make a
internet. I thought
donation
maybe I
every
could
month
just share
to
across the
Bowen.
internet on the
We're
Zoom
getting
meeting.
into the room. If anybody wants to contribute to that, see me afterwards. Secondly, if you join the Bowen and become a member, there's a gift shop out there where you can sell your stuff. The Bowen takes only 20% as compared to most galleries would take 40%. So. Jenny told me 20. Maybe she's doing us a favor, I don't know. Third, I put it on Facebook. The Bowen has this in May, I believe, is going to have a hanging a jury show. So they haven't announced it yet. And if you think about it, if they don't announce it real quick, there's not going to be enough time for people to submit, get the jury decision made, and people can get their stuff prepared and hang. So when they announce it, you're probably only going to have a few days to do your submission. But if you're interested, start thinking now, so you're ready to pull the trigger. You'll be able to do up to 5 images. You can submit up to 5 images. You can submit up to 5 images at $10 a piece. First place in the show will get $500. I'm not sure about the other prizes, but I know first prize is 500. So think about That's my time filling pitch. Thank you very much.
Okay, we are going to try to do the challenge. The people on Zoom, can you hear us?
We can hear you, but you need to only have one microphone on at a time.
No, I muted my computer.
Okay, is your microphone on? The people who are in here with computers, are your microphones on? Okay.
Everyone on Zoom needs to turn their microphones off as well.
Like I said, this is the practice meeting.
Yeah, I'm mine are off.
Okay. Okay, my microphone is on.
Your microphone needs to be on because it's been.
Right. Okay, we're going to try again. So hopefully this will work. Whose computer is shutting down? Oh.
Everybody that wants to vote, get a ballot. Is there anybody who didn't get a ballot?
Okay, so yeah, oh, you're sharing.
I know. Where'd it go?
It was never a few.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was, wasn't it?
Well, her screen was showing before.
Yeah, it was.
I think it was because my Zoom was on, I turned it off because I was trying
Okay.
to cause interference.
All right, let me stop sharing and I'll share again.
Here, where's your HDMI? See if we can figure this out. Yep, there we go.
Got lights?
Where are my controls?
Are they showing up?
They did for a minute and then they went away.
Corner. You might just do the arrows.
Maybe.
Let's test it.
Nope. Where'd it go? Share again. They did show up. They're there.
What happens when you picture?
Well, I can try sharing again without that.
Either that. Stand by.
Should I try it without this again? Let's try it one more time.
You're connected to the internet, right?
No, yeah. There. There we go. Now let's see if I have my controller. No.
Click on more. If we can minimize.
There it goes. Without this. Is there anything up behind me?
No,
So no,
no signal in.
but I haven't shared. Because it has to have a projector to show up here.
Yeah, unless we share from mine. Well, mine's not that good either. The problem is that our controls are not showing up on the bottom.
Like mine weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's up here. Can Zoom see?
You know, your controls are.
Your controls are up at the top.
Participants can now. Yeah, but my left and right to move through the slideshow is not up there. That's the problem.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, there they are. They're there.
Maybe.
Well, they're there.
Click on the next. Click next.
Okay.
Maybe just keep your cursor there.
Yeah. Can they see it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I think Zoom can see it.
All right.
We're gonna try.
Don't breathe.
Don't breathe on the laptop.
Nobody's sleeping.
Okay. Hopefully everybody on Zoom can hear me. So we skipped the first slide, which basically set our theme. I didn't change this slide. Our theme for this month for the photo challenge is dilapidated. And boy, there's a lot of dilapidated stuff out there. We had 14 people and submit entries this month. So it's a fun, good topic for everybody, apparently. So our photo challenge, it's limited to one image per person. That person needs to be a paid member to submit an image for the challenge. We don't allow any composites, so your image must be a single image file. You must be at the meeting either in person or on Zoom to win or to place in the challenge. And we give points away for each challenge, and those are accumulated during the year. So at the end of the year, we have the photographer of the year, the person with the most points for the year, who wins $100 and a paid membership for the following year. And a trophy, yeah, a cool trophy.
We have a few past winners here. Lisa,
Yeah.
Carol, me. We have one Bob Kelly was a winner 1 year, and we've done it 5 years.
So we're gonna go through the 14 images probably 3 times, so everybody has plenty of time to see each image. And the people in person all have a ballot to vote with, and you're gonna vote for your favorite 3. So you'll vote for a first place, a second place, and a third place. The folks on Zoom, please select your favorite first, second, and third place. And you can see on the slide right now, there's an email address that you will send your votes by email to, and that's vote@ngaphoto.club. And we'll remind you of that at the end of the challenge as well. So I'm going to get started here with our first image, and that's not it. Maybe if I can get my arrows back here. Oh, okay. Oh. All right, I am gonna unshare and share again, just see if I can get them back. Okay. They were there. They disappear again. There. All right. Photo number 1. Can everybody on the Zoom meeting see that? Somebody wave a hand at me. Okay, awesome. Photo number 2. And somebody on Zoom, let us know if there's a delay in the photos. Dick's keeping track of it. Okay. Number 3. Few of us have seen this one before. Number 4. Five. I'm sure it's the truck that's dilapidated, right? 6. Seven. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. Okay, I'm going to go backwards now. 13. 12. 11. 10. 9. 8. 7. Oops. What's going on? Six. Yeah, okay, wait for it to catch up. Okay, we're all on 6 now, I think. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. Do you all want to see him again? Yes. I'll go a little faster this time, as long as all 3 screens I'm watching keep up. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 'And that's it. So if you will, in the room here, write down your top 3 for the Focus on Zoom. Submit your votes for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd to vote at I keep saying North, vote at ngaphoto.club. And we will tally those tonight and have those posted in the morning, the winners posted in the morning. I know, I saw yours too.
While we're collecting votes, I want to thank Barry Smith for coming out tonight and cleaning cameras. I hope a lot of you took advantage of that. And Barry was donating $5 for each camera he sold to the club. That'll help go towards the Bowen. So we want to thank everybody for that.
I'm sorry.
And don't leave yet. We've got 2 more slides. Let's see. All right, It's working now. All right. So we would get to the end of the meeting and my computer will talk to the projector now, so. Anyways, let's see, here we go. So our next meeting is going to be here at the Bowen. Normally our meetings are the third Friday of the month, but the third Friday in April is Good Friday, so we're going to go an extra week. So our next meeting is going to be April 22nd at 7 p.m. here at the Bowen. There will still be technical difficulties because there always is, but hopefully we'll have less. Our presentation is going to be Stanley Leary. He's going to be talking about learning to write with light. I believe he's going to be on Zoom, so hopefully we will figure out what to do. And but still, come to the meeting. Don't stay at home. Come to the meeting, fellowship. And our photo challenge theme next month, as we said before, is going to be macro close up. Yes. For this theme, we will not be doing photo stacking, but we do actually have two themes this year that we are gonna, one is actually composites and the other one was stacking, yeah. So for those, we're gonna allow it. No focus stacking, yeah. Because there are multiple images in a photo stack, unfortunately, yeah. So the rules may change next year, but for this year, those are the rules. But that's a good question. And that's it. God willing, this recorded and people who want to watch this on YouTube will be able to watch it. It could be very funny. So thank you for coming out. For those who are here, we have a tradition after meetings of going out for Mexican food. We do that at Senior Fiestas over by the Kroger there in Dawsonville. Anybody who wants to join us, feel free. And that's it. And we look forward to seeing you next month.
I didn't hear where do you guys meet and what time.